Guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. In this video, we're going to be having a look at the new Evercade EXP-R. This is the Solus edition. Let's have a look at it. Okay guys, before I get started, I have to say that Blaze did provide this for review purposes. But obviously my opinions in this video are entirely my own, and I did not send this video to them before uploading to YouTube. Thanks again for them sending this unit, I really appreciate it. Okay guys, so let's have a look at the new Evercade EXP-R. This is basically the same as before, except it's a new colour, but we'll have a look at some of the details. This is now the new sort of Solus packs, meaning they now come complete without any cartridges. Although they will come complete with a bundle, you can obviously choose your own cart. Some retailers may have some different offers as well, but basically it does come on its own for the first time ever. But there's no massive upgrades. I think it's just really a different colour. There might be some changes, but I will try and check as best I can. So obviously you can add to your cartridge collection, which you'll probably want to do, because otherwise on its own it's pretty much useless. Looking at the back of the box here, you obviously get save states. You've got the Taito mode, which is definitely one of the big selling points of this handheld. And it's obviously compatible with over 60 Evercade cartridges, and that is continuing to grow. There is more to come in the coming years. They have been going now for 5 years. Obviously there are lots to collect, and interestingly I can see here the new distribution part or play on is here on the bottom. Hopefully that will solve a lot of distribution issues that we've seen in the past. And on the side here, basically just tells you what's in the box, which is just the unit, a little start guide, and a charge cable. That is it. So let's have a look inside the box. So certainly everything about it seems quite cheap so far, because it's really very basic cardboard. There's not a lot of packaging at all. There's a quick start guide here, which we'll have a look at in a second. But as you can see here in the box, there's no even any protection, just in case it gets damaged in transit. And this seems like it could move just a little bit, which probably isn't ideal, to be honest. But yeah, it's definitely very minimalistic in the packaging that's in the box here. You've obviously got your handheld, and that's it. I think there's a charge cable inside the box. So if I lift that up, there is a charge cable sort of down the bottom here. Now I would recommend 100% use the charge cable that comes with the unit. It's just a standard USB-C charge cable. Okay, so let's have a look at the quick start guide. Just basic bits of paper. It is actually quite big. I'm sure it's encompassing a few different languages on there. Some warnings. As I said, there is some information there about the correct charging adapter to use with it. I'd definitely pay attention to that, because it could probably affect the overall battery life of your handheld. And here you've got a quick start guide, basically telling you all about how to turn it on, the Taito mode button, charging, etc. Obviously it's charging, it should light up in red, and obviously fully charged it will be to completely green. And then you've got your full cartridge sort of list there. Well, it's not full, it's obviously a selection of the cartridges available on Evercade. There are tons. There are over 600 games. And that's basically it. Okay, so here is the Evercade EXP-R. It is basically the same design. All that's changed is really the colour design. I think this definitely makes it look more retro. I think everything seems similar. I think you can see the D-pad and the buttons are all the same layout. I think they do seem slightly more textured than before, but that could be my imagination. It obviously could be just wear and tear in my old unit, that they're now sort of smooth. Same sort of button layout. You've got your on-off switch. Hold this down for 2 seconds to turn it on. You've got your shoulder buttons. Obviously some games do use the shoulder buttons. This is a little vent at the top, I believe, and you've got your cartridge slot in the back. On the bottom here, you've got your Taito mode button for games that use the vertical aspect ratio. And on the bottom here, which is probably the worst placement of this unit, is the sound speakers on either side. Obviously it's stereo, but I think it's probably the worst placement for the sound. Sometimes some of the games are not the greatest sound. It does feel a bit muffled. I will cover that in the video though. You've got your USB-C charging slot. You've got your volume up and down buttons here, and this is your charging light here. Obviously it will flash red if you need to charge your unit. There's nothing really on the other side. If you sort of turn it over, you've got one sort of air vent on the back one. You've got some air vents down here as well, I forgot about that. It's a little bit grippy on either side, and that's really it. Obviously you've got your cartridge slot. Sometimes it can be a bit snug for some games, and in past units it did heat up, but thankfully that's not really a problem anymore with this different model we have here. They've certainly solved that in the last iteration, which is great, and that is basically that. So what we'll do now is turn it on and we'll get some games playing. Now it may take a few minutes to actually turn on and you'll have to run through the basic setup and add in the Wi-Fi details. The first time I sort of loaded up, it didn't find my actual Wi-Fi, but I just sort of ignored it, skipped it, and then done it later on, and it was fine, just in case that does happen to you. And I will go through some of the details. You'll probably have to run through an update as well as soon as you get your Wi-Fi uploaded, because it will probably not be the latest information here. So if you need to upload, go to the cog and you will find the update and system and check for updates. It will be in here to get it to the most update setting. You will know when it's updated. If you're obviously following this at the moment, you'll have the September 2025 highlight of the month, which is free, but we'll cover that in a little minute. Anyway, let's have a quick look in comparison to the past EXPs. You can probably see it is probably the same. So this is the previous version of the Evercade EXP-R in the sort of a almost grey style, or dark grey. And this was bundled with Tomb Raider as well, which is still available. So if you're interested in buying this, that's obviously an option as well. The Tomb Raider bundle, which was quite cool. But obviously this new one is entirely on its own. You may be able to get a decent bundle with another cart of your choosing. Which, as you can see, the designs are pretty much identical. I think there's more grippy perhaps on the front here and on the buttons, but it could be just wear and tear that perhaps that's now wore down. I don't really know, but it is basically the same. I think the new model does look more retro and probably more akin to the original Evercade handheld that was released in 2020. You can see basically the design is practically the same. There is some differences here and there on this part up here. It's one thing that does actually stand out for me, as you can see where the hidden screws are to obviously open the unit. The colour is exactly the same for the old Evercade EXP, but unfortunately if you look at the screw covers for this version, they've made them black for some reason, rather than keeping them with the same colour as the EXP. So I'm not sure. I would have liked to have seen them the exact same colour to sort of keep them hidden. Okay, so let's have a look at what you can expect to see on the Evercade EXP. Obviously we don't have a cartridge inserted at the minute, but let's have a look at what you can play. You can obviously play the highlight of the month. That's one that will be updated every single month. It was previously Game of the Month, which was like a sneak preview for Indie Heroes that was released the following year, but now it's Highlight of the Month. There are hidden games. There are 11 to find. If you don't want to know them, then it's up to you. Obviously there is a link to finding them all. I've done videos on all the hidden games as well, but if you're entirely new to Evercade, then I would probably advise trying to figure them out yourself. But some of them you probably won't be able to do because they were probably relevant to their time when they were released. We've got free unlocks. If you want to sign up, you can do this here. I can't really remember what it is. Basically it signs up for a newsletter. I can't really remember if you get a free unlock or something. I can't remember what that's all about, but obviously you can sign up and you get an email sent to you about latest Evercade updates. Now if we go into the sort of library section, it lists all the carts that are available. This is the browse carts section, and it shows all the carts. You can highlight them, or you can view covers this way, or you can by pressing the X button, or just view the spines, or just the actual covers. This is entirely up to date. We've got at least, I think, 6 carts still to come. We'll get the Taito 1 and 2 carts, Neo Geo, which are actually due this month, Neo Geo Arcade 2 and 3, which are due in October, and then we've got Lamasoft Collection, Activision Collection and Rare Collection all coming out in November. So quite a busy few months, some really big stuff coming for Evercade. It's certainly been quite exciting times. We've had some good carts this year. Arguably could be one of their best years yet, although some people would disagree with that, I guess. But we've had lots of stuff that's been really impressive, like Broken Sword Collection, Tomb Raider Collection, 2 planned collections last year, which was really good. Data East, Legacy of Kain, Thalamus collection, Tomb Raider, lots and lots of stuff. Now bear in mind, some of these carts may have gone legacy, meaning they have stopped sort of manufacturing them, so if you are starting your collection, it's going to be tricky to collect them all. But there is plenty to choose from. You can sort of jump between the different arcade, computer and console differences. They are obviously indicative of the colour of the cart, which is purple for arcade, blue for computer, and red for console. Sometimes they do mix them up a little bit though, with sort of same or different arcade, computers and console all in the one collection, like the Rear collection. Anyway, that is that. You can go through each of the different carts and they'll give you some details how to buy, and some screenshots of all the games that are included, which is pretty cool. And you can also browse the entire game library, which sits at, I think it's over 600 games, maybe even nudging 700 at this point. It will take a little while to unload, so we are approaching nearly 700 games across lots of different variety of genres. It's pretty impressive. It's great finding some games that you've never heard of before and finding a real excellent title, and that's basically what Evercade has been about for me, is discovering some games that you'd never heard of and really enjoying them. So let's go down to the settings. We've got display options. You can change between original ratio, pixel perfect, full screen. Now you may want to jump between all of these at any point. I would probably recommend sticking to original ratio. That is my preferred one. You can mess about with scan lines as well if you want them on or off. Sometimes it might help with the arcade games. This certainly makes them look a little bit nicer, more like how they used to be in the arcade. You've got different display options here if you want the sort of different box art at the sides. Sometimes I find it a bit distracting, so I generally would leave that off. You can do the same for Taito bezels, which we'll have a look at. You can turn them on or off. Dynamic rate control, I would probably advise to keep this enabled. That's certainly specifically for the sort of home computer games as well. We've got intro video, you can change that to the classic one. I prefer the classic, to be honest, so I will leave it like that. The modern ones does tend to get a little bit annoying. I wish you could actually have an option to turn it completely off, to be honest, and it just goes straight to starting. And you can also add scan lines to the menu as well. Different themings, you can change the theme depending on which one you like. You can make your choice there. Sound, everything's up completely high. Now one thing I don't like about this EXP-R is the sound isn't great. Sometimes it's fine, but there are some instances where I find that it feels like it's quite muffled. And unfortunately it's still exactly the same on this iteration. I thought they'd maybe make some improvements, but it's still exactly the same. The sound is not great. Obviously this is for connecting to your Wi-Fi. Accessibility, you've got high contrast mode. Languages, you've got various different languages. There are some additions to this. See, we've had Japanese added recently as well. Polish. We've got system, check for updates, factory reset, force patch cartridge if you have issues with that. Not had to use that in quite some time though. Legal and support is basically just a list of all the sort of legal stuff. Credits, who worked on this project, and that will give you a list of everybody at Blaze and besides that worked on this project. You've got a secret section here which will help you unlock some games. Now I'm going to give you a little help here in one of them, so if you don't want to know, you may want to skip this part, but if you put in the word stone, it will unlock a C64 game. So if you put that in and press the start button or enter, it will unlock Rogue 64, which is the predecessor to Roguecraft, which has just been released, and it's really good fun. Doesn't look amazingly, it doesn't look great, but it is a lot of fun to play. So that's us unlocked one secret game. There are 11 overall on the Evercade EXP to find. And I said this is really good fun. It's basically a dungeon crawler, and it's a lot of fun. Doesn't look particularly great, but honestly it is great fun. I think it's fantastic. Very addictive stuff, but I guess if you like this, you'll love Roguecraft DX, which has just been released. It's certainly one of Evercade's best games, and at present it's maybe something of an exclusive until it's obviously released on other platforms, I guess at some point later this year. But fantastic game, I really love this. If you want to exit these games, you just hold the menu button, which is this button here, and then that gives you other options too, from save states, display settings, you can reset, etc, etc. You've got 6 save states per sort of game, and that might vary. I think the Bitmap Brothers Collection 2 has only 4 save states due to sort of memory card size. And you can obviously load your last game as well. You've got a quick save option too, and then you can jump into the display settings, reset. You can look at the controls if you're not entirely sure what to do, and that is very simple, very basic. As we probably mentioned, there is a Tate mode, but we'll sort of use that for the Tate mode games. But let's jump out of that and back to the main menu. It tells you down the bottom if you're stuck on how to actually control, it's B to go back, and you'll go back to the main menu here. So if we go down to the EXP menu, you can see now we've unlocked 1 out of 11 games. So there are 11 to find. I have unlocked every single one of them. I've covered them in videos. There is a site that will show you how to do this. I'll leave that in the description. But I would recommend doing your best to try and discover them by yourself. But there will be a few that you will definitely need help with. Okay, so Blaze have also sent me the latest Taito arcade collections. These are out next week at the time of this video, which was sort of towards the end of September. Previously these were only available on a Super Pocket, so great to see these on collections that you can play on your Evercade EXP. So I'll have a little look at these. I will look at these in separate videos though, just in case you're wondering. But let's have a look at Taito Arcade 1 briefly on the new handheld. So insert your cart. Some carts may be a little bit snug, but for the best part they should be fine. Now something I want to sort of iterate here is previous models I've had some light bleed down the bottom here. I'm happy to say probably one of the biggest improvements I've noticed that there's less light bleed than my previous handheld, which is great news. It's not quite perfect, but I think it's the best iteration that I've had so far. But again, that might vary from handheld to handheld. But if you sort of look down here, sometimes there was light bleed, but I certainly noticed that there was very few, which is great news. So maybe that's been an improvement that they have made to this unit. But you see here we've got the classic Taito and the classic Bubble Bobble. Certainly an old favourite of mine from the Commodore 64 days. Now, as I said, that I find that the sound isn't the best on this unit. I'm not sure if it's down to the location of the speakers, but it does vary from game to game and how loud it is. I would recommend using a headphone or headphones for that. The sound is absolutely brilliant through that, but through normal then you may struggle in some games. Specifically the PlayStation games always seem quite quiet. If you're sort of playing Tomb Raider or sort of Broken Sword, you will probably notice that it's quite quiet. Even Amiga games like the Rollcraft DX, I felt the sound is far too quiet and it should be louder, but that is what it is. It's not terrible, but it should be a lot louder. If you sort of compare that to the Super Pockets, for example, the sound is booming out those speakers, whereas on this it's fine, but it could be louder. Okay, so having a look at Space Invaders, an absolute classic. And this one, I think you can play it by the Tate modes sort of style. As you can see here, if you put the Tate mode button, you just press the sort of red button on the side here, and you can play this game in Tate mode. And Evercade has tons of games like this, and it usually will tell you in the game description or in the manual if that's the case. Most of them you will be able to tell because it will be a tiny screen that you'll be presented with, which makes the games pretty much hard to play in this iteration. But playing the games like this is definitely the way to play them. Unfortunately, like this, it does get a little bit sore in your hands. Sort of playing it this way, it does become a little bit of a burden. So I would recommend perhaps investing in the Tate grip, which definitely helps playing games that are obviously a little bit longer. If you're playing games for 20-30 minutes, it's very, very helpful. I think it retails for about 20 quid. You don't have to buy it, but I would recommend it if you are planning on playing a lot of sort of Tate mode style games on the Evercade EXP, which is a great option. I think this is certainly one of the more selling points of this unit, playing games in this way. To sort of jump out again, you just press the Tate mode button and it will jump back to normal. Obviously for the Tate mode, you can only use these two buttons down here for fire. Unfortunately, if you're playing games with turbo fire, that will not be allowed. You're not going to be able to do that, so a little bit of a drawback on that occasion. Okay, this is Taito Arcade 2. More sort of Taito games that you may or may not recognise, some classics here. Let's have a look at Liquid Kids. Certainly a real good looking game. So this is Liquid Kids from the Taito Arcade Collection 2. And this one I actually only discovered a good few years ago. Never played it way back in the day, and it's very cutesy and it's very clever, and I think it's fantastic. Great to see this on an Evercade collection. I'm actually chuffed to bits that we've got these carts on Evercade, previously only available on the Super Pockets, but absolutely fantastic games and certainly well worth buying. And don't forget, you can pick up the Tomb Raider collection. That is obviously one of many carts that are available on Evercade, and it's really, really good. I think sometimes the sound isn't great, but you can probably see the sound seems okay. It seems a little bit louder than I can remember on my other EXP, so perhaps there has been some small changes to that sound after all. Maybe it's just my imagination, I perhaps need to compare, but it doesn't sound too bad. And good luck defeating this person. Now, one small tip here that I would definitely recommend is always use the eject cart option, which is using the select button here. It doesn't obviously physically eject your cart, but it will obviously remove that completely from the background here, and then you can just remove it safely, which I would highly recommend. Sometimes if you remove them while it maybe saves in progress, it could corrupt the cart, so keep that in mind. Probably turn it off correctly rather than in game. Go back to the main menu and use that eject option. Just to be on the safe side, I have had a few carts that have probably bricked over the years, and I'm pretty sure most people have, but it's not really something I've experienced for quite some time. So if you use this feature, it should minimise any issues that you could perhaps experience. And don't forget the highlight of the month, which we'll have a look through now as well. But what I would like to do now is just have an overall sort of thoughts of the Evercade EXP-R Solo Edition. So if you're completely new to Evercade, this is definitely a good sort of starting point. It's probably not the cheapest way to get into Evercade, which would be the Super Pockets, but Super Pockets are not the best for every collection that's out there. I'd say the Evercade EXP certainly covers everything. It obviously has that Taito mode, which is perfect for a lot of the games that are in that vertical aspect ratio. I think it's a really nice handheld. I think it's nice to see it returning to the sort of more retro look of the original sort of OG handheld, as we like to call it, which was released in 2020. It seems more retro. It's certainly quite an attractive looking handheld. It's not perfect, but I think they've certainly fine-tuned a few things over the last few years. The battery life is certainly improved. You should get 4 hours plus on this, and I found that the battery life improved through time and use. I think initially it wasn't the greatest, but if you charge it correctly, you should experience at least 4 hours sort of battery life, 3 to 4 hours, and maybe even more. It certainly has been a massive improvement over past iterations of the Evercade EXP. Now this retails for $89.99 or $120 in US. Hopefully you should be able to find them in various retailers, from Funstock to Amazon. There are a list of retailers on the evercade.co.uk website, and I will leave that link in the description as well if you are interested. It releases to the public in September 25th. And you still can pick up the old Tomb Raider collection as well, Evercade handheld. That is still out there. That's a little bit more expensive right enough with the cart. And as I said, you should be able to find bundles allowing you to choose a cart of your choice, obviously. So the Evercade highlight of the month is something that will be updated at the start of most months. I'm not sure how long they'll continue this format, which is obviously new for this year. They may change it at some point in the future, and maybe even revert back to the sort of game of the month, or the sort of game of the month from Indie Heroes collection. Not entirely sure. They might even have something completely different as well, but it's nice. Basically, you're getting a free sample of a game that you may not necessarily have, and obviously if you like it, you can go out and buy the cartridge. You may want to be quick with this one though. This is Indie Heroes Collection 1, which has just been announced as a Legacy Collection, which means it's no longer manufactured. So you may want to hurry up and get that out. It will be no longer manufactured by the end of 2025. And I would recommend getting it too, because it is a really, really good collection. Certainly one of my most favourite games on Evercade is Flea. Has a little bit of frustrations now and again. The boss battles can be very, very tricky. But what a great game. Also, there is a sequel on Evercade as well, Free 2, which was released last year or the year before. Also really good, but much, much more frustrating to play through. Okay guys, so this is the Evercade EXP-R. I think it's a fantastic handheld. Still isn't quite perfect. I'd say that the sound could still be better. But at least we've sort of improved a lot of things from the past iteration. The light bleed is no longer really an issue. I love the colour scheme. Honestly, it's really nice to pick up. If you're in the market for a new handheld and want to get stuck into Evercade, now is your time. Obviously, if you already have an Evercade EXP, I would say it's not really worth picking it up unless you are a collector, obviously, and you probably will want everything that's going. But just to iterate, you do not need this. It's not a huge improvement over the other handhelds. But if you are new to Evercade, this is a great place to start. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.